Hello everyone. This discussion is likely to annoy some people, no matter how tactfully I put it, so I'll just jump right in. Why do bad things happen to good people? I'm going to try and answer this from two perspectives: the atheist point of view and a spiritual point of view. Firstly, atheist, because there is no God, and it is a dog-eat-dog world. Simple. This always seemed like an easy way out for me, and raised questions regarding the ultimate trustworthiness of atheists in general. But this is a topic for another time. Secondly, and of more interest, the spiritual perspective. And here the answer is also simple. Free will. Be it real or only an illusion, it is the gift of apparent free will for each individual which makes it necessary for bad things to happen to everyone, even good people. Many may not think that they have a choice or free will in life, but this restraint is quite obviously self-imposed when viewed from afar. As soon as you have more than one individual with free will, it should be obvious that to guarantee free will for all, life must allow one individual to impose their free will onto others, be this action good or bad. People may say that the person being imposed upon has less free will in the matter, but they will always have a choice in how they react, even if many people do not see this. And it is the guarantee of choice that is all critical, even if these choices are not always ideal in the eyes of the individual. As a side note, it is worth stating the underappreciation of the power of positive intent in regards to how individuals interact with one another, or even their environment. Here positive and negative are not related to good or bad, but relate to positive being a clear action instigated by the individual towards a person or the environment, while the negative, in turn, is the avoidance of an action instigated by others or the environment. I will hurt you is a positive intent in this instance, while don't hurt me is the negative one, which could be changed to I will block you, or I will defend against you, or defeat you. All of these are positive intents. The same goes for interactions with the environment. The negative, I don't want to die, is not as effective an intent as the positive, I will survive. As this is an intent, it may or may not work, be it positive or negative. But most people will be able to confirm this just by looking back at their own experience, let alone the experience of others. In sport, for example, don't miss versus hit it, or in life in general, don't screw this up versus do your best. Here it would seem that generally bad behavior has the advantage, as it is normally formulated as a direct action, or positive in the above definition. What most people don't realize is that passivity is not good behavior. As such, good behavior requires positive intent, not just the absence of bad behavior. And here again the power of free will in the context of multiple individuals is reinforced. Intent, drive, motivation will generally always win out against passivity, be it good or bad. The only solace we can take as a society is that good intent is so much more powerful overall than bad intent in most circumstances. So this goes some way to explaining why individuals are bad to each other, but why doesn't God step in? And why does the environment itself occasionally conspire to make people's lives a misery, be it disease, or natural disasters, or others? Both of these can be explained at the same time. Proof of God or overwhelming evidence thereof would largely destroy the free will and choice of people. Choosing to go against God would be pointless even for the unintelligent. One can't help but get the feeling that the point is to choose God's path freely, and to truly choose freely between two separate paths there must always be doubt about the merits of travelling either path. I always liked the phrase, "Why would God make a universe that doesn't work?" when atheists ask for proof. The point is that there should be no proof. The mechanical universe is an unfathomable marvel of perfection of function. It operates without any seeming direction, no corrections required. I would say it is almost too perfect. Life itself being the delicate, improbable thing that it is, which allows us the gift of this choice and free will. But there is a notable side effect of everything I've said so far. Life can seem horribly unfair to some individuals, as in seriously awful, unjust, and cruel. How can this be explained by the concept of a just, fair, and good God? Many explain this to themselves by conceptualizing an afterlife that would compensate for an awful existence. I personally never found any of these ideas viable, as the idea of sensual pleasure or a afterlife based on a duplication of our earthly lives unnecessary, unrealistic, considering we would no longer be bound to physical form. Some would say that God's grace will allow us to taste and feel and live in this physical paradise after we die, and even if this seemingly uneconomical framework were viable, an eternity of heaven, as depicted in most dogma, very quickly loses its shine upon reflection. I fear many people can't adequately project enough to even mildly fathom what eternity really means. I am quite sure what happens after death is beyond our earthly comprehension, though there still leaves questions marks regarding the severely horrendous experiences of some unlucky innocent people during their lives here on earth. The only satisfying answer to this that I could come up with is that human experience is viewed collectively and not individually in terms of fairness and justice. It is the sum total of human experience which is fair in terms of the ability to express free will. Many will point out that the small number of rulers throughout history and large number of oppressed would contradict this thought, though it should be reminded that most dogma of the major religions views spiritual marital advancement and achievement very differently than material society. The lowest beggars can be a saint, while kings can be doomed to hell. This spiritual relativity, if you will, allows almost everyone an equal chance of enlightenment and spiritual advancement within their own experience, even if their free will appears highly limited from materialistic eyes. Almost all spiritual and moral choice will always remain in the individual's control, even if they are not aware of this at the time. Fear of death and pain are powerful biological motivators, but are not generally considered acceptable motives by most religious dogma to violate a spiritual goal. Humans' interpretation regarding what is good or bad is, as far as personal viewpoint is concerned, is too varied to believe that everyone is entitled to a good life under God. The obvious core purpose of freedom of choice and free will is to allow people to freely choose the path of God, and to guarantee this freedom there must remain doubt as to the existence of God, i.e., natural disasters and disease. And for a world inhabited by multiple individuals, this means that God must allow individuals to impose their materialistic will upon each other, good or bad, so that their spiritual free will and choice remains their own. And from a justice and fairness point of view, this is sorted out after death. And if your religion allows you this certainty, well, good for you. However, for those not so fully convinced of an eternity of holy choirs, multiple virgins, or fire and brimstone, I can offer an interpretation surprisingly compatible with most dogma that answers the afterlife justice question more satisfactorily, at least for me. Firstly, for me, the concept of ascension is important. The idea of eternity in a stagnant state does not seem worthwhile, whichever way you look at it. If this is achieved via other means after death, I do not know. But following on from the idea that humanity is viewed in its entirety of experience, a very elegant mechanism to facilitate individual and group spiritual advancement is some form of reincarnation. And here I'm not necessarily talking about the Buddhist interpretation. In this way, a person's overall contribution to life would directly result in them helping to formulate a heaven or hell here in the physical world for subsequent generations, and therefore themselves. I see no more fitting reward or punishment than to be directly affected by our own efforts, be this over multiple lifetimes of the same soul. This also ties in elegantly to the double-edged sword that is free will and choice. In a world with multiple individuals. You may not think an individual suffers much in one lifetime due to their callous actions towards others, but it is almost assured this negative contribution to life in general will have repercussions later on to following generations, which they could well be a part of. This way humanity collectively makes its own hell, heaven, or purgatory, which would sound like a very fair deal. And most importantly of all, humans can change this. I remind again that good is not passive, but active just like bad. And action is simply neutrality, so it should be no surprise, then, that bad has such a power over neutrality, as we often see today. For anyone stuck in a materialistic perspective, instead of a spiritual one, who sees their life as hell without any significant free will, it should be reminded that happiness is a choice, which most people give up and leave to circumstances and external influence. Humans need precious little: food, water, shelter, air, and company. Take back your choice. Choose to be happy. On a final note, humanity, like each individual, will never truly be lost, and therefore never truly safe. This is the price of free will and choice. From the depths of hell, on the precipice of despair, there is salvation. Every positive step, every good action reinforces positive feedback and encourages further improvement, individually and collectively. The spiral up is always there, you just have to choose to take it. But a warning against complacency: this spiral goes both ways, so that those on the cusp of enlightenment and ascension can, through poor choice and reinforcing bad behavior, slip down the spiral. And there is no speed limit either way on this reinforcing spiral. So choose life, choose happiness, choose to help make life heaven on earth for all those who follow, regardless of race, gender, or disposition, because it may well be you in a next life. All the best, everyone. Take care and enjoy.